Hey everybody, welcome to my suburban oasis. My name is Soleil. I garden in a zone 6A in mid-Michigan, and today we're going to take our garden walkabout and tour, and it's going to be great because even though we've had a ton of rain, it didn't do anything to damage things. I mean, some of our hydrangeas are droopy a little bit, but really not too bad. So let's take a look. Well, we're going to start right over here at our deck garden, which is looking pretty good if I do say so myself. I have the potentilla that are up there that are nice and trimmed up, and hopefully they'll put on some good new summer growth. And our alyssum is just going crazy with this rain. It really enjoyed having that. The hydrangea is even more blue, I think, than last week, and a little bit purpley because of all of that rain. It's so amazing and gorgeous. I just love it. And our little pine tree right here, I repotted this because I thought it was in a pot that just didn't suit it very well. So I took and I potted it up in an old pot that I painted in that anodized bronze, and we have this gorgeous Moseri dwarf Scots pine now. Now, I also had this little seedling of a snowball bush, and so this one is starting to come back after all of that rain. It's starting to push out some new leaves here, so that's exciting at the tips as well as at leaf nodes. And then our incredible bush, both of them right here are just amazing. We've got some of the biggest blooms that I've ever had on this. I'll show you my hand next to one of them, so you can see just how massive they are. It's pretty incredible. That was cheesy, sorry guys. But so beautiful. I'm really enjoying them this year. And I'm looking forward to having the third one just filling out this end next year. Well, I wanted to show you where our rudbeckia ended up, and they ended up on this quaint little table over here. So after we potted those up this week, we got them out for the garden tour, and the garden tour went really good, you guys. I was so happy with it. Everybody enjoyed themselves, and we went out to dinner afterwards, and it was just really great. So thank you to the Greater Lansing Garden Club for coming over and joining me in the garden. I hope you enjoyed your time. These planters are still looking good, but I'm gonna have to do some trimming on them because that black potato vine really is taking over. So it's looking gorgeous, but I think if I left it alone, eventually it would be the only thing left in that pot. So we'll get that taken care of pretty soon. You can tell that the Panicle hydrangeas are really starting to make their presence more known in the garden. We have the vanilla strawberry hydrangea back behind the fountain there, as well as the strawberry Sunday hydrangea to the left of the fountain, and I think they provide a magnificent backdrop to it. And then right in front we have a beautiful mugo pine that is a dwarf variety, and I'm just probably going to keep it right about at this size because I like it. It still is underneath the height of the fountain and allows you to see that gorgeous base of the fountain. You may have noticed I did come through and trim up the spireas as well as the roses here, and I think that has done a magnificent job of just kind of opening up this area, and I think it looks really nice. Now we still have these daylilies blooming. We're going on like the third week, I think, of it because we've had the cool weather and rain, but you can see the incredible blush that is back behind it that is in bloom. We still haven't gotten any blooms on the mini mauvet one, but these blooms on the berry white hydrangea are starting to flush out now, and they are gorgeous. This one will turn a very deep color, and at some point we may do a hydrangea tour for everyone just so you can see all the different varieties that are in the garden and how they perform differently. Well, over here We do have the Let's Dance Rave. I think we're going to get a second bloom on this, but it really has definitely underperformed for me. But it was very, very small when I got it, so we'll just keep that in mind and see if it sets on some good roots and does better next year. If we just look down the long border now, things seemed lush before, but now they're just floriferous. I mean, everything is really coming into its own with the hydrangeas, and we're starting to get some blooms that we typically don't get until August, so it's very odd. I'm not sure why they're so early, but the alliums don't usually bloom quite yet, and we're seeing them starting to push out some blooms. The quick fire is starting to change colors on us, which is beautiful. If you hear me slap myself, it's not because I'm mad at myself, it's just because we have mosquitoes. Just kind of look back at some of those incredible hydrangeas, how beautiful they look. They're just so billowy and cloud-like. And all of the blooms right now are just so fresh on the hydrangeas. So the can-do over here is doing great, and we're putting out some nice new bigger shoots, and hopefully there will be some nice new blooms alongside those. This limelight right here has not bloomed yet, but it has buds on it. I anticipate that we'll be getting some blooms very soon, because the other one that we have in this garden bed is starting to put on some blooms. Right next to the 9-bark over here, we have the Rudbeckia and the 9-bark. And then we have the Limelight Hydrangea back here that I'm hoping again will add even more height into this garden bed. Just beautiful, beautiful colors right now. Things are looking really good in this bed. In fact, I think you will see that the dianthus down here are actually beginning to bloom again after I cut them back quite well. All of the rain really gave them a little bit of a revival. We still don't have any blooms on the buddleia, but you can see they're getting closer and closer, and they're all over it. I do need to come through and cut the daisies back because they are starting to go over, and they don't look great when they do that. We have a firelight in this back corner that is just starting to open up, and our Roseanne geranium is kind of filtering its way through all of the different shrubs and perennials in this border. And we're kind of at the end of the day, so a lot of the daylilies that bloom today are closed, but you can see that we do have some that are open right now, and they're very beautiful. And then we have the Diamond Rouge hydrangea back here that's getting ready to open. Now this is another limelight right here. I planted this one last year, cut it back really hard this year, wanted the roots to grow on a bit more. I do see that we're getting some buds on it, so I think we will get some blooms, but nothing super significant this year. Hopefully next year. This is really its first full year in the garden. And then if you recall, the little lime hydrangea that we have back here that got damaged when the fence went in, it has two really, really sturdy stems that look like we're going to get some blooms on. So that's pretty cool. And then I have some soapwort down here. And this is the native soapwort that can colonize along roadsides, especially you see it in like Illinois and Wisconsin. Well, the garden bed up here is looking gorgeous. The firelight is amazing. Just look at this firelight. It's so white and fluffy. I love it. I do need to cut come through and do some trimming on my apple, which is the espalier. It's got a lot of new growth going on it. It also has some rust on it too, so it's been a rough year for that apple tree. Just look at all the new growth on this pieris right here. Unexpected this time of year, but definitely great to see. I didn't think that the hostas could get any bigger, but we got a couple inches of rain in about 24 hours, and so I think they decided to get bigger. Now you can see that alyssum that we planted is finally really forming a beautiful edger on this part of the garden. It took a while for it to take, but that rain really did a good job of helping it to thrive. I don't see any blooms setting just yet on this tiny quickfire, but maybe we'll get some yet. You can see we have lots of blooms on these diamond tiara hostas. They're one of the most prolific bloomers, which is great because they're beautiful, but also requires a lot of deadheading after they're done. We have some blooms happening on our gumdrops over here, the Dolce silver gumdrop heucheras, and then in the middle of them is a pennisetum grass. It actually looks like it's finally starting to take hold, so it'll be fun to see if we get some seed heads on that this year. Just to show you how everything's looking together right now, I think it's really beautiful. All of the lime green and chartreuse is really showing up well. And the can-do hydrangea is looking amazing center stage here. I did take some of the impatiens that we had out front that the deer were eating and the rabbit were eating, and I put them up high on this bench back here. And I think that they look great and are going to be happy, hopefully, back here, as long as I remember to water them. Our little haughty hydrangeas are looking very chartreuse right now as the buds begin to open in both of these garden beds. We have a small bloom on the dark side of the moon, astilbe right here. And something you'll see happening down even further is the phlox. Our phlox all have lots of bloom heads on them. I did not do the Chelsea chop on my phlox this year, so they are blooming way ahead of schedule, both because I think they're ahead of schedule due to the weather, and I also think they're ahead of schedule again because I didn't do the Chelsea chop on them. This Annabelle hydrangea has some amazing blooms, and I'm really glad I put the cage over it because it seems to have held up most of the blooms very well. And this dogwood is definitely happy where it's at. Next year will be its 3rd year, so I can't wait to see how much growth it might put on next year. The blooms on this oak leaf hydrangea are starting to turn a limey green, which is gorgeous. I just love it. And we're finally starting to see this Virginia come back, the one that the rabbits ate down to nubs last year, and I don't know if it will last at all this year, but we'll see. I can't remember what this is called. It's like frilly edged or ruffles, something like that, because it has that curvy little edge around it. Look how big the summon substance is right now. Holy moly. And the quickfire, or the Pinky Winky hydrangea tree right here is starting to open. So that's exciting. We can start seeing some white blooms on that. This area is looking real healthy. The flax over here, though, definitely have some powdery mildew. And this is the David flax, and usually it does really well with staving off any mildew, but not this year, unfortunately. I did cut back the scabiosa on this side of the garden bed, but not on this other side, so I still need to get after that. As well as I need to tidy up some of the foliage around this hellebore that is starting to die back and get little spots on it. So I want to get rid of some of that old foliage and just kind of help open up some space and some air in there. I'm definitely going to be dividing this Crocus Regal hosta this year. It is big and it's beginning to hang over the edge of the path, but I think that one will look beautiful possibly after I remove this hosta over here next to the other side of the fence. And then I'm going to have to remove this Brenner right here because right here is the gate. Just look at all the new growth on this Scarlet O'Hara Pieris. It's still really, really just growing. So vigorous. Let me show you from this angle. Hopefully, we might be too far away, but I'm just gonna walk up by the pool, which is super full from all the rain. And hopefully you can see down at the end there the arborvitae topiaries that we did. I think they look really nice, kind of filling out that corner pot area and just adding to it. Here are our hibiscus, the evening rose hibiscus. And again, it looks like the Tiantian Seven Sun trees are going to bloom soon, and they don't do that usually until, gosh, almost September. So they are way ahead of schedule here. This is not supposed to be happening at the same time that we're getting buds on the hibiscus, but it appears to be what's going on. I do need to trim my privet hedge again. It's starting to put up lots of new growth, which is a beautiful golden color. But I might let it just get a little bit taller and a little bit thicker before I do that, just because I want to add a little bit more height onto that hedge still. Our tidy up in this area is still looking really good. We're starting to get some new growth back on some of the salvias that we cut back and the smoke bush. You can see now, as well as the Weigela, which is the spilled wine, and it really has colored up and gotten its dark color again. We're getting some additional blooms on this snapdragon, which is the Black Prince. And I came through and cut back all of the disobedient plant, as I like to call it, around this urn because you couldn't even barely see it with its daylilies. And I'll have to figure out something that probably will have to kill it back, unfortunately. The sandwort that we planted is looking really good back here also. I'm not seeing any blooms yet, but it's definitely happy and has taken well. I can tell that it's enjoying its new space. The hydrangeas over here look amazing also. Again, not a lot of flopping or drooping from the rain. We did get some on our biggest hydrangea over here, the Bar Harbor one. You can see they're starting to turn a little bit limey as they go over. So it's a perfect time for me to take some bloom cuttings and make an indoor bouquet with those lime colored blooms. We're starting to get some blooms on the Strawberry Sunday hydrangea back behind the Buddha. And our sedum right here is doing really good. Really good. We have another Strawberry Sunday hydrangea over here that's finally starting to put on some height. It's taken a long time to establish itself over here on the corner, and I'm really looking forward to having that fill in front of the arborvitae. I think that's going to be gorgeous with the backdrop of the autumn or Amber Jubilee 9-bark there. I have a beautiful coneflower over here in the potager garden, which I will probably dig up and move this fall. We got some great tomatoes going on in here. It's been wonderful. And oh, there's a bunny. Here's our Pinky Winky hydrangea over here, getting ready to open. And our daisies are about to go over here also, so I'm gonna have to cut those back. You can see our little limes in this garden bed are starting to open. So those are gonna be really, really pretty. And the pink mink has finally started to go over. All right, well, let's take a peek in the front garden now. As we head into this side area, you can see I did a really good job. I'm patting myself on the back here, you guys, for coming out here and trimming up the boxwoods and really making this garden bed look nice and tidy, along with deadheading the hostas. So I think it looks really beautiful. Now I think that I've decided that I'm going to move that barberry right over here for some color instead of all of those geraniums. I think we need a little something else there. And this barberry is getting smothered by the hypericum, which are just beautiful color right now with the yellow. And I'm looking forward to seeing if those put on berries this year. I've seen some of those for sale for bouquets and that kind of thing, and I think it'd be really fun if we have some of those. The low growth sumac is out of control. I'm gonna have to come through and trim it up. You can see it's coming all the way out here to the rocks. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit in a different video. I love the leaves. They're gorgeous and shiny and beautiful, but I do need to trim it back because it's kind of trying to take over. This limelight is putting some blooms. And here on the blue corner, I did add something that's not completely blue, but I thought it was the right hue because it doesn't really detract from anything. So we have, note the hues of reddish purple in the grass that we planted. And so I thought these purple and blue sedums as they grow would be really beautiful as well. So that's what we have here. And they're just kind of in the background, but helping to be a ground cover as the rest of these plants fill in. And I'm just loving the Niagara Falls blue white pine here. It's so pretty. I should have bought the other one. Maybe I'll go back and see if it's there. All the hostas are looking so lush and big in this garden bed. And I'm seeing new growth on the pieris out here as well, which is exciting. You can see all that new growth happening there. So I feel like that one has finally really established itself, because that will add some nice height into this garden bed besides just the large hostas. Well, the new garden bed over here is looking pretty good still. The crab apple is much happier than it was when I first moved it. I'm going to see if I can maybe soon take the stake off and see if that might help with whether it's straightened out or not. Our back and black sedum is doing pretty good. You can tell that it's had a few nibbles on it, but it's still there. So I'm happy about that. Nothing's pulled it out or anything. Lots of good blooms on the Sonic Bloom Weigela here. Some nice pretty color. And we're starting to get some seed heads on the purple fountain grass. So that's cool. And as we look over at the front sun garden, everything's looking really floriferous also here. between the daisies and the bobos, which don't also normally bloom at the same time. Usually the bobos are a little bit further behind, and so I'm kind of surprised they're blooming together, but they do look gorgeous, just so fluffy together, don't they? That was one of the plants that the garden club really liked seeing, was this goldfinch daisy, and you can see we still have lots of blooms opening up on it. And the veronica is still going also all along this path. So pretty. We're starting to see a little bit of color on the oak leaf hydrangea blooms out here. They're turning a little bit pink, which is the first time that has happened. They're also got a little bit of browning on them. And we have a beautiful butterfly over here on the boxwoods. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sneak up on it or not. There he is, right here on the corner. Isn't that pretty? Don't look at the holes in my boxwood. That's probably the most unhealthy boxwood that I have. I don't know what kind of butterfly that is. I did give these boxwoods a real nice trim. Cut back a couple of inches off of them. Hopefully they won't brown out too bad. It is a little bit late for me to have done the pruning, so I can tell that they have a little bit of, browning happening on them right now. So I might wait until I have a few cool days in a row to just give them a real light trim to get that kind of gray off of them. Hopefully that makes sense. The front of this garden bed is looking stunning. The bobos and the sedums and everything together right now. It's just quite the vignette. And those bobos are just so fluffy. Just whenever I see them, I just want to go over to them and give them a little fluff. Yep, there's a bunny rabbit over there eating something. Hopefully he's just eating grass. Well, here in this garden bed, we have lots of coneflowers that are starting to bloom, and they're looking really good. They really lighten up this garden bed. And our tiny sun sparkler spirea right here is doing pretty good. We planted this last year, and so I think it's really taken to its spot now. And hopefully that will spread a bit. That one's supposed to get a bit wider but stay nice and low like that. The Gara is getting really big, but it hasn't started blooming yet. But all of our coneflowers in this garden bed are really beginning to show their colors. I'm trying to get forward enough so I can show you without being in it. There we go. There's that garden bed with all those beautiful blooms. And some of them are still opening. I mean, they're not even fully open yet. Just gorgeous. The pollinators absolutely love them. Let's see, we have a bumblebee on this one right now. And he's so happy he's just not going to be bothered by my camera. I'm loving the grasses, you guys. And they're starting to put out their seed heads too over here. These are Panicle grasses. These are the prairie rose variety. So they have the really pretty filigree type seed heads. And I think they're gonna look amazing with their blue next to the other texture of the gold false cypress right here. Here you can see we have some blooms that haven't even opened yet. And back here, our liatris hedge is still going. This is probably going to be the last week that you will see it. We may see a little tiny bit of this at the end next week, but this is pretty much it for now. So really enjoy it while it lasts for sure. It's been a good 3 weeks of full blooms, and it'll probably be about 4 weeks that we get to enjoy them all together. And our PG Hydrangea standard over there is looking great, as is the Strawberry Sundae Hydrangea back here. I'm just really happy with how this garden is looking. Well, my camera keeps overheating and shutting off on me, so I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. It must be time to end it. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye!